Here.
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 Definitely Leary just texted me and said he's running late, he's on his way, he's coming back in the city.
Was that a yes from Felicia?
Yes.
Okay. So tonight's work session is rather short. I think we may be 15 to 20 minutes. We have one update on COVID that Dr. Bell will perform for us in just a minute. We'll give him a chance to get settled over there. And then if the board had any other questions regarding reopening, we would entertain those. In fact, John, as you're getting that ready, maybe what I'm going to do is I had one item for reopening that I had brought up at the leadership committee meeting a few weeks ago. Rosemary was there. And it had to do with the front of this campus and the incident we had, the miracle we had, that this truck came off the highway and landed in our front yard and pierced through all the barriers that we have in place, even up on the highway. And I started thinking back then, don't expect miracles to happen twice. And I brought up that perhaps what we need in the front of this campus only, the other campuses are well concealed with trees and so forth. But this campus, that open front, I think is dangerous. I think that if another 18-wheeler were to come off the highway, it would pierce right through the fences we have out front, and we may have kids on the playground. So I mentioned to Bill and to Peg that I think we need to ask our architect to come up with some inexpensive type barrier that we could place every 5 feet so that it's not as wide as a tractor trailer, and plant it about 8 feet into the ground, a steel beam with some decoration on top to make it look nice. And if you've ever been to the United States Military Academy, they have them all over. And those are for military purposes to stop trucks. But I think we need something like that here. And I'd like to have the board, as we reopen back in this coming, as not back, but in the future, as we reopen in August, totally, that we have something in place by then. So I was hoping the board would give the okay for Dr. Bell to entertain either bids or some type of quotes that we can go forward. Nothing, I'm not looking at an elaborate set of concrete fencing or anything like that. I know up at Wallenpaupack, they have a beautiful concrete barrier around their entire football field, mainly to keep the crowd out. And it's lovely, but I don't want to spend that kind of money, but I do want to spend something to make sure that nothing can pierce through the front of this campus. So with that said, if you have any questions on it, we can entertain that, or if you want to send your questions to Dr. Bell. But
I have one other comment about that is if you look on 84, where the truck went through, right past where the truck went through starts where there's the barrier between the two lanes, between the eastbound and the westbound lane. And I realize that has nothing to do with us, but I wonder if PennDOT locally would have a contact for somebody that we can, or Representative Pfeiffer, Senator Baker, who may be able to lobby for some funding to extend that on 84 in front of our campus, so that potentially, that's one thing also, and I'm not to say that I don't agree with the barriers as well, but that's also something that I think that the state should look into as well, that, obviously seeing how this incident did occur, that, like you said, it could occur again, and perhaps they can add some funding with their transportation, since they have that great transportation subsidy with the gas tax.
right.
So we can make a request to PennDOT to look at that. And then regarding the stuff that Jack's talking about, we'll look into the costs, the aesthetics, the practicality, and the cross-country course. And the reason I say that is I can't remember if we're required to have 5 feet or 8 feet for running the cross-country course, which is starts where it's guardrail, chain link fence, rain garden, and you got to have a certain distance in there to make sure that this, and then the really weird thing, I mean, it's only happened once in what, 60 some years. None of this would have prevented that because he came right up the driveway. He came up the driveway. So even if we put all those stanchions in and they were in last fall, it wouldn't have prevented this, but it could prevent something else that could happen. You know, it was amazing that he was able to come off the highway the way he did and come up the driveway. Or just go figure, right?
Asleep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Jack, can I add something?
So
Can
I
you hear
mentioned,
me?
Bill had asked me a question, how far off the fence are we talking about? And I only thought maybe a couple of feet off the fence that's out there, which, you know, would give us plenty of room for cross country, I think, but we need to have an architect look at that.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, we'd have to see, basically you'd have to, if we put some kind of concrete or some kind of pylons or something there, they'll have to be right up against the fence and the chain link because there's not much, there's either, I can't remember if there's 5 feet or 8 feet between the rain garden and the fence. And we have to have a certain number of feet for cross country.
And they run on the roadside.
No, they run inside. They're not, we don't let them,
No, but I mean,
they,
with the rain garden, are they?
they run between,
Both sides of the whole
they're
field?
between the rain garden and the fence.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, they're basically running along the fence on the inside to be protected by the guardrail. Right.
But
So-
they're on the roadside of the rain garden.
Yes,
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And for many decades, we had trees out there, but when we redid this whole campus, and those trees were really ugly and dying off, actually. And that was a barrier, which we have at all the other campuses. So it's just something for us to think about as we reopen in the fall, as the
Yep.
kids are back on those fields all night long, that we have something like that in place.
Jack, can you hear me? It's Brian.
Okay, Brian?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, I really appreciate your bringing this up because I think it is a really important thing that we need to look into. I totally support anything we can do on our campus, but I want to highlight what Jessica said. I think this should be, that the state should take some real response, or the federal government, the highway department, whether it's PennDOT or the feds, should, now I know the side of the road is on a steep hill. I don't know what can be constructed there, but whether it's enhancing the barrier between the 2 lanes or putting up additional restraining wall for, 100 feet there along that south side of the highway, I would really hope that we could effectively advocate for our state or federal people to do something about that.
I had to chuckle today because PennDOT was out working on 209 and they had a little tree chipper and they were cutting stuff down off the side of the bank and throwing it through the chipper. Meanwhile, they haven't put the fence back up. That they put the guardrail up right away, but they still have not put the fence that he tore through last fall. That's still wide open, which is a whole nother issue to us from a security standpoint, because the fence is usually a deterrent so that when people break down, that they don't come down the hill and over the fence looking for help. They usually walk on the shoulder and get off the ramp, and get help down there, because we don't want to encourage anybody coming off the highway to walk down and walk through where the fence is. So I'll add that to my list too.
Jack, can I just interrupt for just a housekeeping thing? We have new speakers that Dylan has given us, so I'll be doing the sound for anybody at home so that we don't have the echo and everyone can hear. But I'm going to ask Brian, and I know Jack's not here yet, but if you're at home, I have my screen so that I'll see you when you're talking. Just kind of say, I want to talk, and wave your hand so that I see you and I can turn the speaker on.
Okay.
Thank you, Dawn. Thank you. So Dr. Bell, why don't you give us an update, please?
Sure, just to give everyone an update, and I'll back up a little bit. We had 22 cases over the vacation, of course. We had 16 the first week back, which was the week of January 4th. We had 16 cases. Last week, we had 14 cases. And this week so far, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 cases. So we're at 90 total. However, not every case counts on your 14-day rolling average, because if the kids were not physically present in the school when they were infectious, then they don't count. So I know it gets confusing, but I literally are the one who, I keep track of this. And just to update everybody where we are on the 14-day rolling counts, Shahola is at 0 since they had their remote day. They haven't had any new cases that are applicable. They've had cases, but not any that were infectious, so they're at 0. Dingman's primary just had 2 come off this week, so they're down to only 1 at Dingman's primary. And Shahola's threshold, I said Shahola's at 0 and their threshold is 2. Dingman's primary is now at 1 with a threshold of 4. Delaware Valley Elementary has a threshold of 2 and they have 1 case. So one more case would trigger, that would take them from 1 to 2 and put them into a remote day. Dingman Delaware Elementary also has a threshold of 2 and they have 1 currently. DV Middle School has a threshold of 4, they're at 0. Dingman Delaware Middle School has a threshold of 4, they're at 1 right now. And the high school has a threshold of 6 and they are at 2. So, and it's, so again, it's 90 total as of today is the total number.
Are any of those cases, because I feel like, and I could be wrong, but DVS, is that case coming off that 14-day soon?
Which one?
DVES? Because that,
Delaware Valley Elementary? Is that what
Delaware
you're?
Valley Elementary, yeah.
They just had one go on the 14th.
Okay.
Okay. And again, every day this modifies because once we hit 14 days, then an old case comes off. So that was actually the case at the primary. They were up to 3, but one of them was dated back to the 4th, so it came off on the 18th, and one was the 7th, so it came off as of the end of today. So they're back to 1. So we have to keep this as a nonstop revolving door. They, in the chart, it talks about the number of days of closures based on size of school and what zone you're in, whether you're in moderate or substantial. But I don't remember, I don't have it in front of me. Oh, I do have it, I think.
Prior to the attestation form, once you were in substantial, we had to then do this rolling 14-day average. So prior to that, we were in moderate and not having to do this process of the rolling 14-day average. So I guess that's my question. Once we're back into moderate for 2 consecutive weeks, would the 14-day rolling average then not be applicable?
They still show in these charts, they still show low, moderate, substantial as the level of community transmission. And then over here talks about the number of cases. And so the answer to your question is, if the 2 to 4, I'll give you an example, a small school, if you have two cases in a small school, whether you're in substantial or moderate, they still are doing a close for a clean and disinfect. And that's in the chart. But what the difference is before it was considered a recommendation. And now, like, I think what you're saying is correct, because the attestation form only applies when you're in substantial. So even though they still recommend it in low and moderate, it's not required like it is in substantial. Yeah. I don't know how long it'll be before we get our numbers back down, it depends who you ask, whether things are going to be worse for the next 8 weeks or better based on the UK version, which spreads faster and things of all this, but a lot of that stuff is still, we don't have data to support that. It's all speculation at this point.
At least Pennsylvania as a state, though, their numbers are significantly down.
Yeah.
I mean, they're half of what they were even a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
So this is good news.
So we'll keep our fingers crossed, because again, we don't, supposedly the UK variant spread, it's not any more severe, but it spread supposedly 70 to 75% more rapidly. So that could mean you may not have more hospitalizations, but you could have more cases. So Sure.
Good to see you, Mr. O'Leary. Let's see. We're waiting on some members. Will be about another 3 or 4 minutes. Uh-oh. That'll get dangerous. Okay, let's rise for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And may I ask you all to remain standing as we look back on this week, and we have a new president who asked us, the first order of business was a moment of silence for all those who have been affected by COVID. I think we should do the same thing. Thank you. You may be seated. Julie, may we have a roll call, please?
Here.
Here,
Brian Corso.
here,
Thank you.
Here.
Here.
Yeah.
Thank you. Corey will read the mission statement for us tonight.
Yes, I will. Delaware Valley School District, in partnership with our community, stands committed to maximizing student potential, fostering lifelong learning, and promoting responsible citizenship.
Thank you, Corey. Just for those who are watching on YouTube, if you have any comments or questions, you can direct them to schoolboard@dvsd.org. And do we have access to that tonight? Does somebody have that, John? If we have any questions? Oh, I don't have my phone with me. Sorry. Is there somebody else who might? All right, we'll get a backup plan because I do not have that on my phone, actually. It's at the office. Yeah. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Second.
All in favor?
Oh.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Dr. Bell, we have tonight some presentations to make. All right.
Is Shane Pagnotti there with us?
I am Dr. Bell. Hello.
Jane Pagnotti, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Hey, Shane, how are you, buddy?
Hi, Dr. Bell. Good to see you again.
Nice to see you too. Would you mind introducing yourself and tell us why you're gracing us with your virtual presence?
Sure, absolutely. Good evening, everyone. I'm Shane Pagnotti. I'm your Member Services Manager for PSBA. And I'm here tonight to recognize one of your school board directors for their long-term service to Delaware Valley School District. The legacy of school board service is firmly embedded in the history of our nation and its commitment to public education. The Pennsylvania School Boards Association has a rich history of being the first school boards association established in the United States. Last year, we celebrated our 125th anniversary. The consummate school board director is described as an ethical, principled individual with a deep desire to serve their community. Their school directors have a strong belief in the value of public schools and local control of public education for the benefit of all students. Today, school districts are expected to offer more services along with world-class instruction with limited resources. These expectations provide a tremendous challenge for school directors who are unpaid volunteers who work tirelessly giving away their free time from their families to contribute to the schools and communities they serve. PSBA has been recognizing the contributions of dedicated local school directors with long-term service for over 35 years. PSBA's honor roll is the association's way of saying thank you to those individuals who exemplified leadership by giving unselfishly of their time and talents for the betterment of public schools and students across this great Commonwealth. So throughout her 24 years, Ms. Pam Lutfi has served numerous times as board president, vice president, PSBA liaison, and involved with IU20. So it gives me immense pleasure to recognize Ms. Pam Lutfi for being part of this rich legacy. Dr. Bell, I think yourself or Julie have a plaque.
Yes, I was going to ask if Jack and Jess, as the officers, if you wouldn't mind posing for a picture with Pam.
Sure.
With these. There's a beautiful certificate from PSBA
Thank you.
and a glass commemorative plaque as well.
Jane, thank you very much. Thank you, PSBA. Thank you.
Absolutely, Pam. Thank you.
Oops.
That's the case for it. You want to go by her and then we'll have, you want to take her picture? And then I'll take one too.
When she on the
Dressed down.
Yeah, I said the day I dressed down.
Okay, so between us,
Okay. Wow.
I'm gonna hold it. I won't drop it again.
I'm trying. Here's a piece for every year of service.
Thank you. I said the day I dressed down, wear a hat. Wow.
Congratulations and thank you for all of this.
Thank you.
24 years.
Thank you.
Be careful with it.
Thank you, Dr. Bell, and thank you, Pam.
Is Shane still there? Yep. So let me just say,
Thank you, Shane.
Shane, thank you very much.
Pam, would you like to say some words?
Wow, it is a surprise and I am very appreciative. I love public education. I love education in general, and I just appreciate being able to have the opportunity to do this. Thank you, and I appreciate all of you. Thank you. Thank you,
Very
Shane.
Let's have a great day.
Move on. May I have a motion to approve the minutes from the regular board meeting on December the 10th, 2020?
Motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No objections, the motion carries. Now we have our student reports. Tonight we have with us Abigail Vogel, and she will give us what's going on in the high school.
So first of all, before Christmas break, the Student Council organized an ornament decorating fundraiser for students and staff, and the funds earned contributed to the compiled gift to our custodians, and overall $700 was raised from donations from DVHS students, staff, and the ornament decorating fundraiser to thank our custodians. Also, on the last day before Christmas break, students and staff showed their holiday spirit by wearing ugly holiday sweaters. Also, this January, Delaware Valley High School held its annual college roundtable, where our recent graduates gave their own college experience and advice to our current high school students. In addition, I am a member of the AP Research class, and throughout these next few weeks, our school's Institutional Review Board, or IRB, is meeting with most of the AP Research students in order to approve their research projects. And I'd just like to thank Corey Homer for creating the IRB and giving the AP Research students the opportunity to understand and fully go through the process of having our research projects reviewed and approved. Also, every year, the Spanish 4 and AP Spanish classes take a trip to New York City to watch a Spanish play and learn about the culture of certain Spanish-speaking countries. Due to COVID restrictions this year, this field trip was carried out virtually as the students watched the play over a Zoom meeting. Also, all of our winter sports are currently being carried out. And currently our senior class of 2021 is voting for their senior superlatives, and the newspaper staff is covering all winners in the upcoming edition. Speaking of our school newspaper, the Delaware Valley High School's newspaper, The Delaware, distributed 2 articles last month. One was a holiday special edition, and the other was a 24-page regular edition. Thank you, and does anybody have any questions?
So, what grade are you in?
I'm a senior this year.
And what do you plan on doing after this year?
I plan on studying computer science.
I don't think there's any need for Abigail to stick around, so if you'd like to excuse yourself, feel free.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. We know we're picking up some of your precious time, so we really appreciate you being here. We'll see you next month.
Sounds good.
Just a few quick ones. This one is actually for Dr. Blum, reading through so many awesome things happening in CTE. It's extremely exciting. I don't know, when we had our board retreat at Shahola last year, one of the vision board things when Dr. Bell had that big easel board out, one of my visions was to see more CTE accreditations through it and to see it in that they're now going to get between 6 and 7 college courses through Lackawanna that's huge. Do we have many students that have historically gone there? Yeah, from CTE.
Yeah, so this is just another nice extension. We continue to make these connections. You never know what it's going to take.
Yeah, and then the implementing of a new seamless work-based learning program. I'd be interested, not right this second, but to hear more about what that is going to look like within the community and the businesses. I think that's amazing.
I can ask him to expand upon that.
So,
Are you asking him now? Is he on with us or is that? Oh, okay, that's coming. Thank you, Felicia. Anybody else? How's our attendance doing, John? I looked at the reports briefly. Are we experiencing higher than normal, whatever normal is anymore, attendance issues?
I'm not even sure how to answer that. We have a hard enough time just figuring it out. Ironically, and maybe it makes some sense, and you never know, because when people have these theories at the front end, you never know if they're going to pan out or not. But from just some of the side conversations I've had with the nurses, we certainly have seen less of the spread of the cold and the flu, which we believe is attributable because everyone's wearing a mask. So that's one of the side benefits of this horrible pandemic, is that some of the typical winter stuff that does a number on our attendance doesn't seem to be nearly as prevalent as it normally is.
Interesting. Thank you. Financial reports. Any comments on the financial reports? If not, we'll move forward. Dr. Bell, do you have a superintendent's report for us tonight?
Okay, thank you. I just have a couple updates for everyone. The first thing I'll do is, in case people weren't watching at 6 o'clock hour, we replay the news at 7. So let me do, just to give you an update. We have actually 8 cases this week across the schools. The first week back from after vacation, we had 16 cases. Last week we had 14, and we're at 8 with 1 day to go in week 3. Not all cases count on the 14-day rolling average. I'm sure this is what people really want to know about, is how is their kids' school doing in terms of the threat of having a remote day. Shahola's threshold is 2 cases at once, and they have none currently that count for the 14-day rolling count. Dingman Delaware Primary has a threshold of 4, but they only have 1 active case. Delaware Valley Elementary has a threshold of 2. They have 1 active case. Dingman, Delaware has a threshold, Dingman, Delaware Elementary has a threshold of 2. They have 1 current case. DV Middle has a threshold of 4. They have no current cases. Dingman, Delaware Middle has a threshold of 4. They have 1 current case. And the high school has a threshold of 6, and they have 2 current cases. And the reason all cases don't count is some of them were on the list and they've expired because they were on the list for 14 days already. Others don't count because they weren't in school during their infectious period. So that could be a Zoom kid, obviously. They don't count against the 14-day total. But it could also be a student who, I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example of one of the cases from yesterday, actually was a staff member, was tested positive on the 19th, but had not been here since the 11th. So that case doesn't count against Shahola because the staff member was not here during their infectious period. So, and so that's an example of how you could have a new case, and we put it on the letter that goes up on the website almost daily, it seems, but it doesn't count on the 14-day rolling average. So it is complicated what counts and what doesn't count. So literally you have to keep a running number and add and delete as the calendar evolves every day. But we've had 3 schools had to go remote for 1 day. Of course, that was Shahola and the Dingman's Middle School and the high school. Those 3 schools have gone remote for 1 day. The other 4 schools have not had to experience that as of yet. So we're doing okay. And certainly the post-Christmas rush seems to have slowed down. The first week back when we had 16 cases, most of them were pushed at the end of the first week. The following week, which was last week, we had 14 cases. They were at the beginning of the week. So our mad rush was the end of the first week, butted up against the beginning of the second week. And then what we saw through the end of the second week and into the third week is the numbers are going down again. Now, I don't have a crystal ball to tell you where they'll go next week, but certainly the trend that if they were worried about the spike after the holidays, we saw it, we went up, and now we've come back down again. So that's certainly a good thing, and we'll take it for as long as it'll last. Any questions about coronavirus cases? Yes, the vaccination process has been very interesting. To be immersed into the world of state government politics is very interesting. We were literally on a call the other day with probably 10 different agencies: State Department of Health, State EMA, Pike County EMA, Pike County Commissioners, Wayne Memorial Hospital, Pike County Office of Aging. I mean, everybody you could imagine. We were planning for this weekend's vaccinations. And while we were on the call, the governor changed the rules between groups 1A, 1B, and 1C, and basically took a bunch of people that were in group 1C and leapfrogged them up to group 1A, which then bumped people in 1B down, which includes our teachers. So we're in a strange mess right now. The clinic that will be held this weekend, which is run by the Department of Health with help from Delaware Valley, Pike County, Pike County, Eastern Pike Police, you name it. Everybody's helping make this work because it's a drive-up vaccination. People won't have to get out of their cars. But the number of shots we're going to have and who qualifies has changed multiple times over the course of the week. So right now is we don't have anything specific. Everything is being run through DOH. DOH will have a press release, we believe, tomorrow to give more details. Meanwhile, a lot of seniors in the county are pre-registering with the Office of Aging, through the Pike County Office of Aging, so that they can get on a list that the Office of Aging is running. And so we're not in charge of this clinic. We're merely offering our facilities because we have the facilities to serve the community, but we're not quite sure exactly how many shots are going to be here this weekend and whether our staff are going to have access to them or not. We're hoping to get more word from Harrisburg tomorrow that there might be more shots and could be a larger pool of candidates. So we're basically in a holding pattern right now. it's a little precarious, but we're on a hold right now and hoping to get more information in the morning. At the same time, we've had some other local agencies offer to help out. If our staff ends up being excluded this weekend, we've got a backup plan for next weekend potentially. I can't say too much more than that, but so we're hopeful we can still pull it off this weekend, but if we can't, we're looking for a plan B for next weekend. So just sit tight for another 12 hours or 15 hours and hopefully we'll know more about that. And yes.
You have a question on that issue? Wait, could you please?
Actually, come on up to the
please
mic.
stand up? And we have a microphone this week for you. This way everyone who's watching can hear
Sorry to
you.
interrupt.
And state your name for Julie.
Okay, Anastasia Theodoropoulos, thank you so much. Just a quick question that I'm unaware of. Do we have any fatalities in our district since the beginning of the school year?
When you say in the district, you mean employees and students?
Yes.
No.
Thank you.
Sure.
I do have a question, John. Is there, if our, and I know you might have something, a different approach for next weekend for staff. Is there any talk though, if our staff cannot get it this weekend, will they allow us to do another vaccine clinic in the future?
The real issue that we're up against right now is the amount of vaccines available and the short notice that the state's getting from the feds, and then that trickles down to the regions of the state.
And I know this is not a Pike County problem. I mean, this is happening everywhere. I just wasn't sure if that was something that potentially they were amenable to. Do you know, is potentially doing another one?
Oh,
If we
without
can't
a
do it
doubt,
This
yeah.
time, could we do another one? Do you know, so that more of our community can get
And
the
right now, we're
vaccine?
working two different angles. We're working Department of Health and Wayne Memorial Hospital to
Okay.
both see if they can get their hands on more vaccinations.
Okay.
Not only for our employees, but just for Pike County in
Right.
general. But
Thank
we're
you.
working both systems just to see what we can conjure up to get as many, even if we can get a couple hundred here and a couple hundred here, we'll piece them together to make them work. So it's
Okay.
really been a moving target.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, could you please come to the mic?
My name is Lisa Adio. I'm the president of the union. I want to say thank you. I know that you are trying and you have a backup plan, and we do appreciate that. I just want to say that some of the teachers have said other school districts are getting it, and they are wanting this. I remember you asked a question, how many of us want this? And there are teachers out there that want this, and they feel like we are full-time, and we should be getting this vaccine to keep on doing our job and doing a good job. So I do say thank you, and I'm happy to hear that there's a backup plan. But I wanted to state that the teachers are wanting to know this, and they are looking forward to this. So thank you for helping us.
Sure. And one of the reasons the Department of Health has been trying to help us is because we're in the minority in terms of having a county that doesn't have a hospital. Lots of other counties have hospitals in their county to lean on, and we don't. So that's why I think the Department of Health has tried to work really hard to help us. And I can't say enough nice things about Wayne Memorial Hospital. They are doing everything in their power, and they're treating us just like we're one of the Wayne County schools. And I mean, they've really been gracious to us, and they feel bad that the governor changed the rules on us in the middle of the week when we were gearing up for a very big week or a very big weekend. And now all of a sudden the number of doses is in question and who's in what category is in question. So we really got thrown into flux on Tuesday. But I can't say enough about how both DOH and Wayne Memorial are trying to navigate this to help us out, because we are a county without a hospital.
John and Lisa, then am I to understand that other teachers in other districts have already received? And that's because they live in districts where there's a hospital. So do our teachers have the ability to go to register elsewhere and get it if it's not coming here and they want it quicker?
Potentially that was probably true before Tuesday, when the governor changed the rules and put everybody, he changed it so everybody ages 65 to 74 are now in group 1A. They went from group C to 1A, and anybody ages 16 to 64 with underlying conditions went from 1C to 1A. all the 1Bs, which are like your people doing your public services, got bumped. For example, in Pike County, the estimate was that the number of people that are now in Pike County who are in Group 1A is over 15,000 people because we have such a senior population. So if that's the way it is and shots are going to be open to 1A only until they can get a more readily, a bigger supply, we are going to be stuck in 1A for a long time if we have 15,000 people in the county who all need a shot. Obviously not everybody wants a shot, but that's a huge staggering number. The idea is with the 1A, 1B, 1C is that it was going to be spread out much more. And and I think some states were getting pressure because other states started changing the rules. So then therefore there was that peer pressure from governor to governor to governor. So shots were more readily available for employees like us who are in Group 1B until Tuesday. And now everything has changed. And even at Wayne Memorial, they're struggling because Wayne Memorial was preparing to serve our school districts this weekend and next weekend. But all the rules changed on them too. So they're scurrying just like we are, trying to get permission to continue that versus only serving Group 1A. So they're struggling now too because so the bottom line is teachers prior to Tuesday, it was much easier. If you lived in a town that had a hospital, you probably could have gotten a shot. And now it's all changed and it's all in flux and it's going to take a couple of days to flesh out. So again, anybody that's home and qualifies in 1A and is interested in a shot for this weekend, you have to call the Pennsylvania Department of Health because they're the only ones that really know what they're going to have in terms of a supply for this weekend. And they're the ones that oversee the process for registration so that they can have everybody that's in a car in line is registered and they can put your window down, give you the shot, park over here in the waiting area, and you have to stay over in the waiting area for 15 minutes to make sure you don't have an adverse reaction. So it's going to be an assembly line, but it's really a pretty expeditious way to do it because now people don't have to park, they don't have to walk inside, you don't have to worry about 6-foot social distancing. It's a really good way to do it. And also the testing has worked out well. When they did the testing last week up at the Park and Ride on 739 in Dingman's, that was a pull up and you just put your window down and they swabbed you for testing too. And that was very efficient. And so we appreciate the Department of Health doing that for us. So there's a lot of influx that will come over the next 2 weeks. There's going to be a lot of things up in the air. So I'll keep you posted. Okay. I just had one more thing for Bill. I've got 2 pinch hitters for me on my report. Peg has one thing and Bill has one. So I'll go to Peg first about breakfasts.
Hi, everybody. So I've been working with Justin Roselli and we are going to start offering grab-and-go breakfast for every elementary student starting on February 2nd. The students will take breakfast home with them. And then they'll be able to have that in the morning before they come to school. It's a great thing for us in terms of trying to social distance in the morning before classes, serving breakfast, but also it ensures that every student has breakfast. So, and although they're eligible to do that now, some kids are reluctant to get up and walk down to the cafeteria or have one brought in. So this is just it's a win-win. And so we're going to start doing that on the 2nd. We're sending notices home today and tomorrow to all the elementary families. And they have the opportunity to opt out if they don't want to have a breakfast. But otherwise, we have a system in place to deliver them to the homerooms and distribute them to every student at the end of each day so that they'll have a breakfast at home before they come to school. So thanks very much to Justin and his staff for working that out. And I just want to tackle on something with John's and the whole COVID and everything. Chris Lordy has been nonstop and he really has done a tremendous job communicating with all these agencies, working everything out. Last Friday morning when I came in, we had we had a very large group in the conference room and the boardroom, and unbeknownst to Chris, it was all organized. And he said, sure, you can have a space to meet. And that all these officials that John was talking about were all there all day last Friday trying to come up with a plan. So he really has been instrumental on the district's part and advocating for us. And I just wanted to mention that because he's really done an absolutely fantastic job. Thank you, Chris.
Is it still free for everybody?
Free, yes.
That's, okay, that was supposed to end, what, December 31st?
They've extended it through the end of the year. Yep. All students, all elementary students, and then there are grab and goes that are still available for anybody that is Zooming, homeschooled, and so on, that are still, will still have the grab and go breakfast and lunches available for pickup at the 3 locations at Shahola, Dingman's, and the high school. So those meals will still be available to everyone. And this is just, you know, a better way of trying to service all the elementary kids, and that way they don't have to worry about, but we will still have grab and go. Mhm.
Okay, and then Bill is going to update us on the bond refinancing.
Hi, everybody. In your handouts, you're going to see that today was they priced our bonds, and we're very pleased to report. And it was an email to those that are on Zoom at home. If you would turn to page 2, if you have it, I'm going to just give you a couple highlights instead of going through the whole packet. On page 2, very pleased to report that we ended up with approximately a savings of $224,000 by refinancing the bonds. If you recall, at the when we voted to give them the go-ahead, they were in the neighborhood of $124,000. So it's very good news. But you'll see on page 2 the savings of $224,000. And I would like to also refer to page 8. At the bottom of page 8, on the far right, you'll see that the rate, the arbitrage rate, the interest cost to us is 0.88%. And if you look on the far left, the bonds we refinanced were 1.83. So we were able to drop a full percentage point. And then the second phase, if we're hoping the rates stay down, if you look at the second column on the bottom, the 2017 bonds, they currently have a rate of 2.63 that we're hoping kind of the same time frame next year. We're very close to that, to refinance those bonds and borrow that a little bit additional money too. So are there any questions? I think it's very good news, and thank you for supporting the refinancing, and they timed it well, and we're good to go. And there's no, I'll need the board president in the February 24th timeframe to sign some documents, but all the votes and the formal legal advertising has already been accomplished. So thank you,
Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
So we'll start the new refinancing in November like we did this year? Yes, okay. Thank you. Moving on to number 6, may I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
Motion. Second.
Any questions, any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Bills for payment. May I have a motion to accept the bills for payment, which include the general fund and the cafeteria fund?
So moved.
Any discussion? I did have a noteworthy item that if you do look at our general fund payments this month, the total amount, not including salaries, was $2,060,000. And of that, $1,050,000 was our healthcare bill this month. Almost half of what we spent this month in the general fund, not including compensation, was one bill. You can see it in your records. And it seems like that will be going on for a long, long time. So that was just my note for you all. All those in favor of accepting the treasurer's report, say aye.
Aye.
Sorry? I'm sorry, accepting the bills for payment, not the treasurer's report. We already did that. Any opposed? Motion carries. Personnel items. Number 8, may I have a motion to approve the personnel items, including resignations, appointments, requests for child-rearing leaves, requests for extension of bereavement and change of status, with retirements accepted with regret. Motion, please.
Second.
Any discussion? I did want to say Mr. Kuzner has been with us a long time, John, and interesting what we'll do next. I think he's been our only pool
Yes.
person.
Joe came in 1988 when we built the pool. He became the first pool supervisor and was the boys swim coach all the way up until last year. And so he has been the guy who built that whole program from scratch.
Right.
And Vicky Zelazny, who was his partner for many years, is the girls coach. They were instrumental turning us from not having a program, not having a pool, to having a beautiful pool and probably arguably the best big school swim program in District 2. So he'll be a big loss, and we're very much indebted to him, and there'll be a nice plaque put in the pool lobby in his honor because he's been the one who's the only one who's taken care of that pool for all those years.
So who's going to take care of the pool when he's gone?
It's going to be a combination of people. Divide and conquer.
Good.
All those in favor? Say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Items for approval. May I have a motion for the recommendation for tenure for the following teachers: Lisa Cunningham, Samantha Orr, Sarah Prandy, Ariel Wilkes. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
In a second. Any discussion? It's a big thing for these folks, so congratulations to them. We hope they're with us a long time. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. May I have a motion for the acceptance of the 2019-2020 audit report by Murphy, Dougherty and Company, Certified Public Accountants, and the approval that the board plans to assign, commit, restrict fund balances, resources in these or similar categories on the financial statements for the fiscal year ending June the 30th, 2021, as per Government Accounting Standards Board Statement Number 54. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Any discussion on all that?
Boy, that was a
That was a mouthful.
mouthful.
Yes. We did have a special meeting on this very topic, so you all have copies. I want to thank Bill for giving me another bound copy. I'm the only one who gets a bound copy. I got my first bound copy in 1994, and I have every one since then, back when the budget was about $34 million. So we've been moving up. Yes, you meant to have all yours too. Yes. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. So may I have a motion for the approval of the resolution authorizing the letting of bids for 2021-2022? Resolved that the Board of School Directors for the Delaware Valley School District authorizes the letting of bids for the 2021-2022 school year for the following: general supplies, industrial arts equipment and supplies, custodial equipment and supplies, electrical equipment and supplies, art supplies, furniture and equipment, physical education equipment and supplies, athletic and medical equipment and supplies, nurse medical supplies, instrument equipment and supplies, family and consumer science equipment and supplies, science equipment and supplies, career and technical education supplies. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Any discussion? I had a question regarding these supplies. Do we have an obligation to make sure these supplies are all made in America?
I do not believe we have to. I mean, again, we're low bidder is who we have to take unless we had a quality issue with that vendor. But the fact that they're made in America, I don't believe we dictate that, but I could look further.
All right, thank you.
I
Maybe
do
next-
know that you got to
in
take
next
the low
week's
bidder, but
we can
so
report.
therefore, if you're excluding something that may have been made, I'm not sure it would be in our best interest either, but I'll look into that.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have a motion for the approval to amend the district calendar, changing Friday, January 29th, 2021, from a full day to a half day for students. Motion. Jess? Second. Any discussion? We mentioned this last week. Everyone's good?
And I just wanted to say that we'll operate the same way we did at the end of the first market period, where it's a half day. Dismissal will be secondary schools at 11:15, elementary schools at 12:15. Breakfast in the morning is available, but there'll be no lunch because they're going home at 11:15 and 12:15.
Okay.
Same as we did at the end of the first market period.
We have a question from Jess? John?
Will we do an all call to get that information out?
Actually, tomorrow, yeah.
Okay.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. May I have a motion for the approval for Tyler Smith to work with Heather Holdridge and Christopher Holzer to complete his coaching internship for East Stroudsburg University for the spring semester? Motion?
Motion.
Any discussion? Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Please note in the minutes that the board policy 213, technology device insurance, is under review and may be approved at the February regular board meeting. Other business. First, we'll go to the board. Anything you'd like to talk about at all?
Jack, I wrote down a couple of comments in regard to the curriculum committee.
Mhm.
I'll read those.
Sure.
Even after even with 24 years of experience, you still get nervous at things, so I wrote them down.
Okay.
Unmute here. One good. There we go. So thank you, Jack. Since you announced the startup of a committee to address curricula, my thoughts began to swirl with the many aspects of curricula and curriculum design as it pertains to regular education, special education, and various other aspects of learning for students in grades pre-K through 12th, and even those students who are taking college level courses. Needless to say, it's a huge endeavor to address questions, concerns, new and past initiatives, and strategic plans that pertain to a district's curricula when educators, parents, and board members have been separated from one another due to the enormous complexities of in-school, Zoom, cyber, and other modes of education. For these reasons, I believe the best approach for this committee would be to set aside 15 or 20 minutes, more or less, at each work session to address prearranged topics. Relative research may be done in advance. Speakers and/or presentations will be pre-planned and announced prior to correlating work sessions. Most of you know that I have always supported full board committees, which offers opportunities for every member to participate. Each of our members has outstanding skills to share. Among many other things, Brian and Corey know much about college courses and college entry requirements. Jack touches career tech every day through his specialized work experience. Rosemary is a reading specialist. Jessica earned a degree in curriculum design and elementary education. Jack Fisher and Felicia keenly understand the finances of programs and purchases. Dawn clearly understands most aspects of special education and the legislation that drives special education. And my background has focused on special education, early childhood education, and public school legislation. And finally, most significant is our 10th school board member, Dr. Bell, who oversees every component of district curricula. So if you all agree, I suggest the curricula committee follow the above recommendation. If additional time is needed at work sessions, it can be arranged. And if side meetings are needed, that can be arranged also. Dawn, Jessica, and I will divide our duties and contact each board member, the cabinet, staff, parents, and interested community members to develop an initial itinerary for the February work session, if you all agree with that.
I've seen a lot of nodding.
Okay.
Oops.
Thank you.
So I'm seeing a lot of nodding here. I just want to make sure we touch base with Brian and Jack, that you heard what Pam had to say about allocating 20 minutes or so at the work sessions for curriculum. You okay with
Yeah,
that?
I'm fine with that.
Thanks, Jack. Brian?
Yeah, my only question would be, I'm fine with it, but what about curriculum are we going to talk about? Are we going to review various curriculums or for different programs? Or could Pam just tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes. Brian, I think our initial, my initial response is we need to reach out to some of the department heads, various staff members, the cabinet. We've been out of touch with what's going on in the schools since last March. It's not like we can go in and observe or just go in and have a friendly conversation with our educators. So I think we need to bring them to us. And that's why I feel that all the board members should contribute. If you have a certain area, whether it's special education, regular ed, more information about cyber school or whatever, let's gather that information, present it to Dr. Bell, and then go from there. He also knows more so than us, perhaps some areas that need to be discussed.
Thank you, Pam. But it's not our intention to try to influence curricula. It's just to review what's going on in the classroom, right?
Yeah, honestly, I don't even know right now what the issues are, to be honest. If there are even issues, I suspect there are some concerns. I suspect there may be things that we need to enhance what's going on. It's a very, very broad category. So it's also one of those categories that seems to change with whatever's happening.
Well, Pam, we look forward to what you'll bring us. And if you have topics you'd like to discuss, or Dr. Bell you'd like to inform us about, I think it'll be very helpful.
And ironically, this was going to be the year, some of you were around to remember when we had the department presentations quite a few years ago. That might have been, geez, maybe 2013, 14, where each month we had a different academic department present. And this was going to be the year, believe it or not, that we were going to bring those back. Of course, everything went astray. But we can certainly put our heads together about what things we can cover in the meantime. And then when we get back to normalcy, whatever that might look like in the fall, I'd really like to start having those monthly academic departments come again, because I think it's been quite a while since we did it. And I thought that was pretty informative last time. And we started with the family consumer science, so they baked pretzels for us, which was really great. Yeah. And then remember, Tech Ed bought 3D designs, and it was really very worthwhile, I thought. So we can look, and that could be a piggyback for the fall once we can start having large group meetings again.
And I like the idea of starting at 6 o'clock. Are we all okay with that? Okay. Yeah. So we'll get you on the agenda for the next meeting. I think we're moving away from the reopening items, John. Just a quick update on reopening every month, 2 weeks. That'd be fine. But we want to start getting into more meaty items like curriculum, and certainly, Jack, you're going to be getting the construction bids, and you can tell us what we're doing right and wrong on that. So you will allocate 20 minutes to you once that is there. I think we're moving in the right direction. Any other business from the public? If not, the announcements and the meeting schedule: February 11th, 2021, work session starting at 6 p.m., Delaware Valley High School Auditorium. February 18th, work session, 6 p.m. February 18th, 2021, regular board meeting, 7 p.m., Delaware Valley High School Auditorium. The public is always welcome to attend the meetings in person or watch them meeting on YouTube via our website, dvsd.org. Questions and comments may be directed to schoolboard@dvsd.org, and I will make sure at the next meeting, either it's on my phone or someone's phone, so that we can take those questions live. But if you do have questions, please email, and we will get them answered ASAP. Due to the coronavirus disease, COVID-19, these meetings may be subject to change, and please check our website for the latest updates. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Second.
All in favor? Motion carries. We're adjourned.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you. See you, Brian. Thank you. Yeah. See you, Jack. Bye, Ashley.
Okay. Yep. Bye all.
There you go. Good night, Jimbo. Oh, I also